New Orleans football. We are talking Saints, Panthers. Title of the video, what can Saints do to improve offensively? Very interested to hear their take. We have Brooke. Let's see.
Hey,
Brooke and Nicholas. Brooke and Nicholas here. So they're going to be breaking down the game live from the field. Look at that little field pass action. So we talked a little bit about the game last night, chewed over it, thought about it today, thought about it last night. I'm interested to hear their take. Obviously, they're recording immediately after the game. So I'm wondering if they're going to say a lot of the same stuff that I said last night. Let's not even waste any time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get straight into the video.
Win is a win. It's great to be 2-0. Great start for the Saints. But if we're really going to break this down the right way, we got to talk about the offensive struggles. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer.
Wow, Brooke nailed it. Let's all give a round of applause here. We're 14 seconds in, and she has perfectly encapsulated what I said last night. A win is a win. Great. Kudos. No doubt about it. A win covers up a lot. You want to win, you got to win. Especially a divisional game on the road, 10 out of 10, job well done. But if we look past the result, we do have to have a conversation about the offense. As you all know, we love the deep analytics here. So we're not results based. It's not just win, check mark, on to the next week. There's a lot more that goes into every game. For example, the Steelers last night, they got a win. They didn't have a single possession in the red zone. So, there's a lot of other stuff that happens in the middle of a football game. I do think that with our schedule, like I've said before, the schedule is so easy and the schedule is so forgiving, we do have time to figure stuff out. It's not as pressing to where some teams, it's like, look, you have to go 4-0 here because you're playing, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the whoever down the road. You can't lose games here. Ours is a little different. Ours is I'm more concerned about how the team is playing versus the record. Obviously, I don't want to go, 0-8 or anything, but I don't know. Like, there's no way we could have lost that game, really. I mean, the Panthers did virtually nothing. All those kind of games are kind of like heightened practices for later on in the year. So everything we do, in my mind, is building towards how are we going to play come the playoffs? How are we going to play whenever the team is at full strength? Because obviously we're hurt. We have a lot of issues. Kamara's not on the field. So that's what I'm looking for a lot of is where are we going? Where are we hoping to be in 8, 9, 10 games?
Alongside Nick Underhill. And Nick, look, they slug it out in the end. Even Dennis Allen said, I love that we were able to come back in the end and our offense was able to put on when their backs were against the wall. But you don't want to have that heading into the rest of the season.
Yeah, look, 2-0 is 2-0, so you take them out, you can get them, figure it out, put the makeup on it later, make it look good down the line. But if we're being real, this is a little bit disappointing on the offensive side of
this is a beautiful thing. I mean, these guys nailed it. They have nailed it. They have echoed what I was saying. I echoed the sentiment. Love what I'm hearing so far.
And I don't want to treat this game like a loss because I think these are character-building wins. I think there's a little bit of an element of they don't want to push too much on offense because their defense is playing so well. So, why risk it and put yourself in a bad position? But when you go out and you get Derek Carr, when you have Mike Thomas making 7 catches in the first half, when you have Chris Olave, a budding superstar, Rashid Shaheed becoming a star in his own right, it should look a lot easier than it is right now.
Nailed it. So I was having this conversation today. So we were talking, and who I was talking to said, I thought the offense played okay. I thought they played all right. And they were comparing the offense to how the Panthers played. And they were saying, well, it's kind of the same system, And I said, that's the problem. The problem is I understand why the Panthers are playing like that. I understand why the Panthers are checking down every play. I understand why the Panthers are really restricting the risk. It's because it's Bryce Young's second game. It's because Adam Thielen is their best receiver. It's because they have Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. Okay, the Saints have gone and gotten their guy, paid for Derek Carr. They also have superstar Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, who was playing really well last night, Taysom Hill, Jawan Johnson. There are playmakers on our team. We should not be mimicking the offense of a rookie quarterback. We shouldn't be mean, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Did our offense look that much better or that much more dynamic than the Panthers? I would say no. I would argue that Bryce Young almost played better than Derek Carr. And that's really saying something.
Now, granted, they have like no running backs available, and that matters.
Yeah,
but offense shouldn't feel as hard as it does right now, and it's a little bit disappointing to start the season.
Yeah, everything being hard is exactly what we were saying at halftime. That why is it so difficult for the Saints to just put a drive together?
Have a completion of over 8 yards. You know, like how is it so difficult to have a 15-yard play? Take a shot downfield. Those are the things, and you know, I referenced a lot of the NFL last night. And I said, if you watch the Patriots, I referenced the Sunday night game, and I watched that entire game, and I thought, man, every first down is just so hard for New England. Every first down, like you watch the Raiders, you know, you watch like Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders. Every first down, they're working so hard to get those first downs. Every play, every yard. But then you watch other teams, and it's just like, boop, here's 20 yards, here's 25 yards in your face, here's 15 yards, here's 10 yards, shove it, here's 35 more yards, oop, there it is. You know, it's like, it's just a different style right now between certain teams. And we're lumped in that middle group where they have capabilities, they have the ability to score and the ability to put on drives. It's just really difficult to do so.
They really struggled. Look, there's a lot of reasons, but I will say, one positive that you can take away from these two games, Derek Carr is 100% building trust with his receivers when their backs are against the wall at the end of the games. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, those are the big three that you wanted Derek Carr to build confidence with and comfortability with. It's definitely there.
Yeah,
him and Thomas for sure. Like Thomas is, and that's what Michael Thomas should be. Michael Thomas should be that big-bodied, physical, get you the tough yards, get you the physical yards, you know, make the tough catch. And Derek Carr trusts him because Michael Thomas was taking some shots last night. Michael Thomas was making some really tough catches. He was put in some really tough spots, and he came down with almost every single catch that he was thrown his way. So, I mean, I'm very impressed with Michael Thomas. Last night I thought he was amazing. Chris Olave, we know what he can do, and like he had that one incredible catch last night. At halftime, he had 2 catches for 11 yards. We're going to have to find a way to get him his touches because he is a superstar. Chris Olave and Michael Thomas are both great receivers. Rashid Shaheed has been, I think, really good the first 2 games. I like the dynamic things that he can do in the offense. A lot of the screens, a lot of the speed stuff. He's been good too, especially stretching the ball downfield at the end of the game. So I agree that those 3 receivers, they are doing really well. There's nothing on the receivers that I would change. Everything that I would change offensively is scheme. Y'all know it. I mean, the first thing I always point to in these games is the scheme, the play calling, what we're doing. We need to lean more on Derek Carr, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and Rashid Shaheed. Sure. We need to spread it out more. We need to be able to push the ball. We need to be able to prove that we can be a dangerous offense.
There's times and there's moments, and when they need a big play, they found a big play. So it isn't all bad, but there's a lot of stuff that just simply has to be way better than it is.
Yeah.
I think the offensive line is a major issue right now. I wasn't impressed really with anyone. Again, I thought Ryan Ramczyk played well, but there were issues across the board. We'll kind of see how those fall on each guy, but I think the other 4 all kind of had bad moments overall. Cesar Ruiz, James Hurst, Trevor Penning, for sure. I talked to Penning after the game in the locker room. He said last week he came out trying not to lose. This week he was trying to win. I did think he got a little bit better. Is it good enough? I don't think so. I think there's still a lot of work to do there, and that stuff does affect the quarterback, and it affects.
And that's it's a great way of saying it, because that kind of is how the game felt last night, where the Saints were trying not to lose. And it should have been where we just blast Carolina. You know, Carolina's struggling on offense. They're constantly giving us the ball back, 3 and outs. It should have been foot on the pedal, you know, walk out of this thing 31-14 or so, you know, at the end of the day. Like, it should have been maybe not even that. Maybe it should have been 35-9, or we should have just kept pushing, and then the defense holds at the end. You know, so it shouldn't feel like you're trying not to lose. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is that instead of being so shelled up and so protective of what's going on, there's got to be some risk and there's got to be some willingness to go out there and grab the game by the throat and win the game.
Affects everything else, and if you can't run the ball, that affects the quarterback too. So I'm not putting it all on Carr, all on the offensive line, all on the running backs, but I think there's just kind of dirty hands across the board, and it's got to be a lot better going forward. The crazy thing is they play kind of another weak team again next week. They could probably be bad on offense if the defense plays like this, but at some point it needs to flip, and you
100%. And next week, not really. Green Bay, I don't think is a kind of weak team. I think Green Bay is average-ish. I think Green Bay is right there with some, the Tennessees of the world. They're better than Carolina. We do play bad teams. Again, the schedule is soft. And I do want to make that clear. I don't think this is all on the scheme, all on Derek Carr, all on whatever. Like Nicholas said, we're running the ball for 2 yards a carry if you take out Taysom Hill. We're running the ball for 2 yards a carry. We have no pass protection. So, yeah, it's hard to be like, let's be a sweet, up-tempo, awesome offense when we cannot run the ball and offensive line is just completely letting Derek Carr down. So, and then the good news is Alvin Kamara's coming back. The good news is we're going to get healthy. That stuff should fix itself. It's not something that we're just sitting here looking around like, is this just how the running game is going to be the entire year? Offensive line-wise, it might be a time to go look at somebody. It might be a time to bring in someone, start working people out, trying people out, and seeing if we can kind of put together a line that can give Derek Carr some stability. You just got to get a little bit better and be the reason that you're kind of winning games and make it look a little bit easier.
You mentioned the offensive line. How many times did we see the left side just collapse altogether?
So many.
It's not just Trevor Penning. I know that we continue to hound him. I mean, he really got his rookie season taken away from him. And with left tackles, as Doug Marrone told us, it's only going to get better with reps. He's not going to be somebody who is just a finished product right away. But with Trevor Penning there and Derek Carr getting sacked 4 times, you cannot keep piling. He got sacked 4 times in week 1, 4 times in week 2. You can't have another week where he gets sacked 4 times again. The quarterback is going to get frustrated when he has pressure in his face. He's going to struggle to get into a rhythm and figure things out when the offensive line is collapsing. But to me, one of the biggest factors was when you can't get your run game going, it doesn't allow Derek Carr to be comfortable in the pocket either.
Well, yeah, I mean, no doubt about that. Like, that is, again, running for 2 yards a carry is an issue. And you got to remember, too, guys, like, we've played the Titans, we played the Panthers. What's going to happen when we play the Rams and Aaron Donald's on that defensive line? What's going to happen later on when we're facing off against some legitimate superstar defensive lineman? Like, what's a, we don't play these guys, but what would Myles Garrett do to our tackles? What would TJ Watt do to our tackles? And that's where I see things way down the line. Because I told you all this weeks ago, I've already decided we're winning the division. 10+ wins, playoff berth, all that stuff. So I'm looking far ahead and saying, what's going to happen if we play Dallas in the first round of the playoffs? And Micah Parsons is lined up on Trevor Penning. What's going on? Am I going to have to shield my eyes? Am I going to have to? Is it going to be like watching the Passion of the Christ or something, where I've got to get my stomach prepared to watch that kind of violence all game?
Well, what do you think of Carr overall, just throughout the game? If you had to kind of give the instant grade on it, we aren't
D. I would say it was a D. Let's see what they say.
Carrying ourselves to this grade, but just walking off the field, what do you think of his performance?
I think he made the necessary adjustments at halftime. I think it's a lot of give and take between Derek Carr and Pete Carmichael, and the trust in each other, the trust in themselves in this offense.
Yes, this is perfect. I mean, this is amazing. We're saying. I mean, you guys, y'all know I'm on a whole different level, but that's what I'm saying with Pistol Pete. Pete, I know the bright lights are on. I know it's Monday Night Football. I understand that. Let it rip, my guy. Call the plays. Trust yourself. Do what Sean Payton would have done. Let it go. Like Sean Payton, 0-2 in Denver. Guy opens the season with an onside kick. Let it rip. No one, we would rather that. We would rather you letting it go and calling plays and opening this up, even if we lose. I'd rather that than the hyper conservative, scared to death kind of idea behind everything. D might be harsh. Anything above a C is absolutely insane. So I'm looking for these. I think Nick will say C minus, but it's a D.
Pete Carmichael is still trying to kind of identify what he wants this offense to be. I think that is also playing into it. I don't think this is a Derek Carr problem. I think this is a Derek Carr in an offense that hasn't quite figured itself out yet. So I'm not giving him a bad grade because you came out here on primetime, Monday Night Football, in a place where the Saints have struggled, and you pull out the win. And those two incredible plays, the one to Chris Olave, which credit to him, he was the one that kept that play alive, but a beautiful ball from Derek Carr to Rashid Shaheed for the 45-yard reception. I want to continue to see some of those things and not just do it when your back's against the wall. Do it in the flow of the game when teams are not expecting it. You know what I mean? That's what I think this offense, you add in those explosive plays into.
The interception alone makes him have a C. IMO.
The game plan, not just, oh my gosh, we got to get down there, we got to score, we're going to lose. Do it, add it to the game plan. I think it'll work.
Yeah, they got to just make routine plays too. Like just move the chains, be in better situations. Some of that stuff does come down to the blocking and everything. I was talking to a scout with another team who was watching this game, and the one thing I said, hey, like, what is your takeaway from this? And he's like, look, the Saints know what they are, and that's not a bad thing to figure it out this early in the season. They're a defensive team right now. So it's okay to kind of lean into that a little bit, but when you have the 150...
Maybe that's where I'm missing this. We are an elite defense, but we shouldn't just say, hey guys, our defense is elite, so let's just become a defensive team. We are not the Jets. We are not a team where it's like the defense has to go win the game. We have Derek Carr. We have Michael Thomas. We have Chris Olave. We have Alvin Kamara coming back. We have to be a team that is a really good offense with an elite defense. That is the cap. That is the pinnacle. That is the peak. That is the summit. That is where we were headed. That if we want to win the NFC, if we want to win the Super Bowl, if we want to do all these things that I think we can do, and everyone in the comment section think we can do, if we're going to get there, we have to have an above average to great offense married to this elite defense. We cannot say, yeah, let's have the 17th best offense and then hope the defense carries. The only place that's going to carry us is to a first round exit in the playoffs. Our personnel is too good to just say we are a defensive team. That should not be the case.
$50 million quarterback, you got to make some $150 million plays, and it isn't just. It needs to be more than just the big play stuff. That at some point they got to move the chains. They got to be better. I agree with you. I just thought it was okay. You know, like I think he saved it again with like some late plays. He came through. If you were handing out grades going into the fourth quarter, it was bad. Like I was ready to kill him in my story today. I rewrote it a little bit, but like it still isn't good enough. And I'm just sick of seeing everything be a grind on offense. Like it was supposed to change. There's too many good players. When you get everybody back, I think that kind of takes care of it. But Carr, Pete Carmichael, everybody, they just kind of got to figure out what they want to be, lean into it, and just figure out how to be that for 60 minutes.
All right, last thing before we get out of here. We keep asking, what's going on with the tight ends? Why are we not seeing more Jimmy Graham? Why are we not seeing more Foster Moreau? Why are we not seeing more Juwan Johnson? Is that maybe another issue that if they can integrate some of these tight ends, which...
What I think is happening is I think they're using tight end packages where the tight end is helping the offensive line. So I think because of our offensive line issues, I don't think we can free up the tight ends how we want to. So I'm just guessing, but I'm guessing they're basically looking at the tight end packages that have them helping the pass block or the run blocking. And that's what I think is happening. Because I do agree. I thought they'd be more used in the offense, but if they're blocking to try and help Trevor Penning or help whoever out, I totally understand that. So I have a feeling Nick might say the same thing. That is the one personnel group where they're probably being sacrificed for some extra protection for Derek Carr.
To be fair, they weren't necessarily giving help throughout the whole game. So I'm thinking, all right, they're in there, like they're going to throw to them. They just never did. What is it going to take to get the tight ends involved?
The other two, whatever happens with them happens. But I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of Juwan Johnson because the connection between him and Carr was outrageous throughout
he was
training
kind of
camp.
banged up today.
And people with the team kept saying it's comfortable, which is the best thing you can be with the quarterback.
I think he had a slight injury this week, if I remember correctly. I think he was kind of dealing with something that was kind of bothering him. So it might have been a physical issue. Foster Moreau got a couple extra looks than usual. But Juwan still had 2 catches. If he takes a couple of Moreau's away, all of a sudden he's at 4 or 5 receptions. So it's not too surprising.
Quarterback and a new receiver, it just hasn't materialized yet. I don't know. I think it's just a symptom of the offense as a whole. They just kind of really haven't gotten a lot of rhythm and just haven't sustained a lot of drives, and it has been a lot of chunk plays. So that's where Carr's going with it. But that has been shocking. I don't know the answer to it right now. Like, it's something that they need to figure out. And I think if there was like a simple answer, Juwan would be making more plays than he is. And I think he will at some point. I just think that's just another thing that kind of has to fall in place for the offense.
And look, we will continue to be breaking it all down on NewOrleans.football. We are going to be back at practice on Wednesday, and then following Wednesday's practice, we will have a full-blown show breaking down all
right, look, I mean, again, if you want the most detailed, on the field, deep into the weeds kind of analysis, everyone, NewOrleans.football is certainly your place to go. So, great video, guys. We're on the same page. I mean, we're on the same page. We're not on the same page about Nicholas's pullover reward of the game, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna throw darts too much at the guy. Get the guy a Saints pullover. What are we doing here? But we're on the same page. The offense has to be better. It's not doom and gloom. You hate to treat a win like a loss, no doubt about it. But we are not a defense-only team. We are not. We're not the Jets. We don't have Zach Wilson. We don't have a handicap where, our quarterback is terrible. Our wide receivers are terrible. Whatever. We have playmakers, high-level guys everywhere. We got to be better. And what really gives me the PTSD is last year, is what we said all off season. What did we say? Yes. In the back, absolutely. We said it comes down to Pete Carmichael has to be better. Through 2 games, and I say Pete Carmichael, when I say Pete Carmichael, I mean the offensive scheme. I mean whoever is putting together the scheme and the philosophy, they got to be better. And through 2 games, it's very similar to last year. And we're too talented for that. We have too much playmaking ability across the board. Got to be better. But let me know in the comments below what you think. I'm glad to hear a lot of what we were saying is being echoed throughout. But is that a surprise to anybody? Absolutely not. We set the pace in New Orleans media. We set the pace really kind of nationally with sports media. So thank you for watching. Go down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought. We are less than 24 hours after last night's game. Less than 24 hours after last night's game. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next video.